Welcome to Global Village TV show. We have two guests today, Lynn, Pye-Matheson, Executive Director of FCSS Grasslands. Welcome to the program, Lynn.
Thank you.
And we also have our Deputy Mayor from Brooks, Mr. Norm.
Thank you, Ahmed, for having us here today.
Thank you very much for coming. Lynn, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm the Executive Director of Grasslands Regional FCSS, which is the sort of like the social planning department of 5 municipalities within the County of Newell. So it's the City of Brooks, the County of Newell, and the villages of Rosemary, Dutchess, and Tilley. Personally, I'm married. I've been married for, I don't know, 27 years, and we have a 20-year-old son.
Wow, thank you very much. Wow.
Well, approximately 25 years ago, we came to Brooks. I've got a wife, 4 children, and have served on various communities throughout the city of Brooks. And 5 years ago now, I got on city council and have been a city councilor for the past 5 years.
Thank you very much. Lynn, could you tell us a little bit about the FCSS and the mandate of FCSS in general?
FCSS is Family and Community Support programs, and it's a provincial-wide program, and we have 5 municipalities, as I was saying. Really, our mandate is to deliver preventive social programming for the area. So a lot of what we do involves community development, research. We provide social planning services throughout our area, as well as we provide funding for local non-profits in the area of preventive social programming.
Okay, thanks. Norm, City of Brooks, as you know that we have a lot of diverse population. In your own mind, what do you think the advantage of diverse population such as the one we have in Brooks or Medicine Hat or any other place in Alberta?
Well, I think it's extremely important that we respect and welcome newcomers to the city of Brooks. At the present moment, we have 23.4% of our population in the city of Brooks is newcomers, albeit probably 100% of the people from Brooks are newcomers if we really looked at the total figure. And that figure is only going to increase every single year. And I think it's important that we welcome and recognize newcomers to the city of Brooks.
So someone, for example, coming from other provinces or maybe outside Canada, what would they should know about Brooks? Why would they come to Brooks?
I think Brooks is a very friendly, it's a community where somebody can come and readily get into the workforce. And once they're into the workforce, then they can start to develop roots, so to speak, and start to develop their family in the city.
In other words, we are one big family.
We are one big family.
There you go. Okay, Lynn, being involved with community development for many years in the past, which you did very well. The Expo was also part of that initiative, and you were the engine behind that great success of Expo. Could you just give us a little bit about the intention of the Expo and what they have achieved?
Well, I think Newell Regional Expo, the original, how that really started was recognizing there was a lot of people, you know, of different backgrounds that had moved to Brooks, I mean, throughout the history of Brooks. But with Lakeside Packers, you know, with the expansion, there was a real increase in people moving to Brooks from different parts of the world, from different parts of Canada. And so I think there was a lot of people, a lot of organizations dealing with that change. and maybe it wasn't in as coordinated a fashion as it could be. So really the initiative was to bring people together to talk about how do we celebrate these changes? How do we, ensure that these are positive changes, and that for those that have lived in Brooks and area, for a long time, as well as, people moving into Brooks, how can we ensure that, the communities are welcoming, they're inclusive, and to provide opportunities for people to share their culture, their heritage, and to have a voice in what's going on in their communities. So that really was what started the whole Newell Regional initiative, and then it moved into, over the past 4 years, into doing the 3-day Telling Our Story Newell Regional Expo event, and then moved into participatory action research, phase 2, where people really talked about what were their future visions of a welcoming and inclusive community. And then the third phase was celebrating our histories and celebrating our future visions, and then moving into actually putting a lot of this into place. So there's been very exciting things that have come out of this. Certainly the municipalities have been partners with this, organizations, residents as individuals, and there's things that have happened, such as the City of Brooks hiring an inclusion coordinator, which is very, very positive. The smaller communities throughout the county, they have started a Celebrating Expo Communities group, and they're now having Honor Another Community Dinner, and that includes Brooks as well. So residents from throughout the county, which includes Brooks, are visiting other communities, having dinner with them, and showcasing their communities. So really it's increased mobility between the communities throughout the county, because people haven't necessarily visited other communities, unless there's a school there, you have a reason. So it's all been really exciting, I think.
Well, that's good to hear, and I have to say that our inclusion coordinator is a great guy, and he's doing a great job. Coming back to Mr. Norm, being as a safe community, every family, one thing that they consider when they're moving to anywhere is their safety. And being involved with the city for many years in the past, being councillor for the last 5 years now, how do you see the safe community involvement with all the citizens of Brooks?
Well, in the past we've had the police committee, which has now evolved into the Safe Communities Committee. That just transitioned just over the past 6 months. But overall, the city of Brooks is a very safe and secure community. There are things that go on within the community that are always of importance to everyone that have to be dealt with. At one time there was a conversation that went on, the result came from, I believe it was the city of Regina, saying that we had gangs within the city of Brooks. Well, on reviewing that situation with the RCMP in Brooks, yes, we have a few groups in Brooks, but not of an organized nature that you would classify as a gang, which is probably no different than any other community in Alberta or Canada for that matter. So overall, Brooks is very, very good community in which to live.
So the perception and creation of those kind of rumors are always coming from outside.
Unfortunately, you're always going to have rumors, and when you have one rumor, it takes 10 great initiatives like Expo to combat that one negative situation or comment that may have occurred.
That's true. The other one that I would like to ask you is the fact that the count of Newell Brooks included being in BC representation for the past many years, and the fact now is representation of the party that is governing Alberta. is different than what we have, which is we have representation from Wildrose. Do you think that would be a challenge for the city when it comes to the development and growth?
If you're referring to having Jason Hale now as our representative, our MLA for the area, I believe that Jason will do an admirable job for the city of Brooks. I think he understands many of the issues, and right now he's got a steep learning curve to learn many more of the issues that are occurring within the city of Brooks. But he will do that. The challenge will be then for him and ourselves to present that to the governing government, which is the PC party. And I'm sure that, you know, through collaborative efforts of all three of us, initiatives will come forth that will be a benefit to the entire community.
I also like to take the opportunity to thank you for yesterday coming to the radio show with Jason Haley and Molly Douglas for the fact that yes, he's our MLA and we should be giving all the support that possible. And I think the BC or Wildrose or the city or the county, the effort is to have the growth and the common good of all citizens of Alberta.
That was something that Jason had very highly emphasized, that when he is in this position, that he is working for the benefit of all the citizens of this constituency, which is extremely important.
No, that is good to hear. Lynn, the many organizations that we have today in our area, whether from the SPEC diversity groups or others, what would you like to see for many years to come? Especially FCSS also have a project that is the volunteer center in Brooks. How do you see that, and what do you like to see in the years to come?
With regards to the Volunteer Resource Center, I think, you know, the original intent of the Volunteer Resource Center is to develop that center because we know that one of the most effective ways to integrate into a community and to feel part of a community is to volunteer and become part of things that are going on in the community. So, you know, the Volunteer Resource Center, that really is the primary mandate behind that program, you know, to identify where there's volunteer opportunities and then to encourage people to come in and find out about the volunteer opportunities and, you know, to get people out into the community, involved with the community. So in terms of what I see in the future, I see, you know, that continuing and growing and more people becoming involved in the community, you know, with help of places like the Volunteer Center or, you know, I mean, municipalities get involved in that, or, you know.
The volunteering is a noble thing to do, and I think FCS coming up with that project, I think helps the community, helps the newcomers, and also helps the mainstream if they want to know, if they want to put back something back to the community.
I think Lynn has been very modest in what she is saying here. She organized the Citizen of the Year banquet, which is just held in Brooks the past week, recognizing two citizens of the city of Brooks, Janet Perkins as the Citizen of the Year, and Sydney Tanzoni, who is the Junior Citizen of the Year. And Lynn put an awful lot of work, volunteer work I might add, into organizing that event. And those are things which are extremely important to the city of Brooks.
But I had a committee as well.
You had a committee.
That worked with me. I absolutely cannot take credit for that.
You spearheaded it though, however.
Or you were the engine behind.
That's right.
Behind that effort,
I think too, with, you know, what we've discovered about volunteering, it's interesting because, you know, sort of what we conceive, we meaning, you know, people that have lived in Canada for, you know, a generation or for years, what we think of it as volunteering You know, in other cultures, maybe just something that you do, the word volunteering isn't attached to that.
No.
You know, it's just something that you do as part of your culture.
Yeah.
And so even to talk about volunteering is an education process, because it's a change of a mindset if you're not familiar with the word volunteering, or if you are, to understand that others may not be. And the main thing that we know about volunteering is when people don't volunteer, it's because they haven't been asked.
That is true indeed, but they should also get engaged and look for whichever way they can to help the community in terms of their time, their effort. The other question that might be asked, might be interesting to know, is the fact the volunteering aspect is one, but building a bridge between the immigrant population and the mainstream, that's extremely important for every society to succeed. Because you always have the mainstream thinking, well, those guys have thinking some sort of entitlement. They always think of some sort of entitlement. No, when my great-great-great-granddad came to this country, he or she never had any entitlement, so why would they feel entitlement from their own? So that is very interesting one, because I also had some conversation with some farmers that live in rolling hills sometimes. And you talk to them, that's the way they feel. So how do you think that we could overcome that perception of the two?
Well, I think one of the things for perception is a little bit of education. I think we've got to educate everyone that it's important to have newcomers volunteering into different organizations, because they bring a totally different perspective to what goes on within the city than we presently probably have. And I think it's critical that they start evolving and getting into these organizations so that they can have input into what goes on within the city.
And I believe, this is just my personal belief, I believe that at the root of everything is developing relationships, getting to know each other, and providing, providing opportunities for people to do that and share their stories. Because, at the end of the day, I believe we're all more similar than we are different. And I think, research says even, if you get to know somebody, that really decreases the chances that you're going to have, those prejudicial attitudes, etc. Yeah,
and that's what I did mention. One of the gentlemen in the farming area in Rolling Hills is, I personally feel myself as a new Canadian, even though I've been here over 20 years. But the fact is still, I don't feel I'm entitled to anything other than what I work for. So there are a lot of immigrants who feel that way. So generalizing everyone into one basket, you just assuming things that is not right. So you get to know the person, as you mentioned. Education is very important for the two sides. That coming back to the youth, that's also very important. The youth is important in our area, Brooks and the county of Newell. And I believe we have a youth center, several of them, I guess. How do you think to educate the youth and prevent some sort of bullying in the youth one way or the other? That might create also a problem for the youth.
Well, I believe first of all, if the environment is there, that's created, and it's respectful and honors everyone, I think that's the first step always with anybody, and certainly youth, to encourage those types of, to encourage people to treat each other with dignity and respect. And, youth, they want to be part of the community, and if you have opportunities for youth to get to know each other, and back to that relationship thing, and sharing your stories, understand what it's like to be a new Canadian youth. understand, you know, to really openly discuss, you know, what are some of those prejudices and you know, racism that we encounter? Why is that? What's at the root of that? And what can we as youth do to help prevent that? You know, I think one of the key things is to ask the youth what they think the answers are, to empower them to take action.
I could not agree more. Youth are the base of the of changing world.
Yes.
You can't change the grown-ups sometimes, but the youth, I think that's the where we should emphasize more. So at least then things are changing. What do you think, Mr. Councillor, about that issue?
Well, I think it's extremely important that we start dealing with the youth, and I think one of the areas is within the schools. And I believe that right now what you see going on at the school level is an integration of those students amongst one another,
Yeah.
not only in the classroom, but you're also seeing it outside the classroom, both in physical activities such as being on the same sports teams and different social groups that they have going on within the school. And many times when you're walking through the community, you can see that integration quite readily already.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's a pleasure to see that. And I think the kids can always work out their differences. It's the adults that, as adults, we always have the problem. It's not the kids that have the problems, it's us adults that have the problem.
No, that Mr. Councillor, you're very, very right, because adults sometimes, I refer some time back that when I was running during the election time, I had an old man, I believe probably 72, 73, 74. I was at the Safeway and I was ahead of him, so he asked me, could you please grab the 4-liter milk? And I said, yes. So I grabbed and give it to him. And he says, can you give me one more? I said, yes. So I gave it to him. He says, oh, you are a true gentleman in this color. I said, oh, thank you very much. I did not take that as an offense. I took that as an, during his time, that's the way the complimentary was. He has never seen any colored person doing any favor to him, or maybe he has never met anyone. Yeah. But to the fact that that's not a reason, that's an ignorance from an old man. And I said, thank you very much, with polite smiling, talked to him, and did not see minding what he said. Yeah. I had someone else with me, and he was a little bit upset. And I said, why would he be upset? He's not even talking to you. He's talking to me. Just leave him alone. Yeah. Then that came up also when we had a lady from Toronto Star that when we discussed about that issue, wants to make issue out of it. And I said, no, we don't have such here. We live a beautiful city, and we're glad we call home. Yeah, there are some people that still ignorance plays part of it, but not racism. That's my personal opinion.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
And it's all getting back to education.
There
it all
you go.
goes back to education and learning and learning and learning.
And I think part of it too is time, simply time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at the history of any community when it's built, you have different people from different parts of the world moving into a community. Yeah. And you know, at first, I mean, there's always a history, you know, insiders, outsiders, you know, as human beings. Yeah. I'm not sure why, but we tend to be that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, over the next generation through the school, you know, kids go to school together and learn about each other, and they're just friends. Mm-hmm. You know, this is a normal part of the culture. And then it just becomes part of the fabric of your community, and, you know, on you go. And so I think, you know, time has a way of communities evolve.
That's true.
You know.
No, I could not agree more, and I think that time is changing, and I think education, as our councillor mentioned, education is the important factor of sometimes you will find ignorance in people to the fact that not knowing people, and then they intend to have prejudice on somebody they don't know. but still you can find anywhere. You can find Brooks, you can find Toronto, you can find Vancouver, you can find Newfoundland, which I have never been anyway.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but you can find everywhere. So that's maybe ignorance that we need to educate our people. The coming to the what would you like to see our city and the county in the next couple of years to come, and what message do you have for the youth in your closing comment?
Well, I guess over the next couple years, I just think the communities in our area are doing some really exciting things, and you know, in all of the different sectors. And what I'm seeing happening is sort of the different sectors coming together and recognizing the, you know, the interconnectedness between the social sector, the economic sector, and, you know, how does all this work together? And, you know, if you look at it that way, I think, you know, it's easy to see that changes and growth and, you know, people moving from different parts of the world is extremely exciting. Yes, it creates challenges, but, you know, there's an excitement in challenges, I think, as well. And the message for the youth is, you know, you're the future of our communities. And I think that, you know, you play such an important role in determining, you know, what happens for communities in the future.
Thank you very much.
And be very good to your seniors, because I will be there, and, you know.
Thank you very much. No.
Well, I think one of the things that we always have to realize is that our children will be the backbone of the community. And what will happen, and it's happened with my own children. 3 out of my 4 children went to Calgary, 1 went overseas, 1 went to Medicine Hat, and where are they now? All 4 of them have come, or the other 3 came back to Brooks, back to their home ground.
There you go.
And I think it's because there are opportunities for business, opportunities for them that they didn't realize that were there when they left. And I see newcomers in this same situation. They will say, oh, Brooks, you know, not much is going on here, let's leave. Then what will happen is, a year or 2 from now, they'll come back and say, Brooks wasn't all that bad a spot, and I think I'm going to start a family here, and I think I'm going to start a business here. And you're starting to see that even right now. You've got the Philmart, you've got the Mayan restaurant, you've got Sam's Oriental Market. And I see an awful lot more of that occurring within the city of Brooks.
And kids coming back, you know, the kids that were raised on the farms as well, moving back into the area. So it's good.
It is happening, and I thank you very much for both of you coming to Global Village. This is the end of Global Village TV Today program, and we hope you will join us next time. Until then, have a nice evening. God bless Canada.